Now, I mentioned common sense on the New South Wales-Queensland border, and I'll cross there in just a second, but things are not very sensible in other parts of the country. Mark McGowan reckons Easterners can forget heading to WA for Christmas, even if they're vaccinated. What a clown. And what about the equally paranoid Liberal regime in South Australia? They've got an AFL preliminary final at Adelaide Oval tomorrow night, and even though there's no COVID in South Australia, they're capping the crowd at half capacity. Bad luck, Port Adelaide, hey? But what about the visitors? Footscray. They played last weekend in Brisbane, where there's no COVID. Then they flew to train all week in Perth, where there's no COVID. Then they flew today into Adelaide, where there's no COVID. And they had their 14th COVID test in recent weeks, all negative, of course. But the South Australian Chief Health Officer, she of the pizza boxes and ducking footies, she wouldn't let them have a training session at Adelaide Oval today. That's too much of a COVID risk to run around on the oval that they'll be playing on tomorrow night. What a sad joke. What an embarrassment. And to the Footscray team, the Western Bulldogs, well, treating them like that is only going to fire them up, I'd reckon. Anyway, let's head up to the Tweed area of northern New South Wales now, where there is a bit more logical, a bit more promising news. And I'm joined by the Nationals local MP, Geoff Provest. Good to talk to you, Geoff. You must be relieved.
Good evening, Chris.
You're pleased that this border bubble's coming back in. It's going to make life a little bit more convenient for people in that area, but it's not the sort of end of all your woes, is it?
No, not at all, Chris. I mean, we're very pleased on Thursday with the announcement we're coming out of lockdown because we haven't had a COVID case here, nor have we had any in our sewerage, and there's been no leakage to Queensland. Today's announcement by the Premier in Queensland and Steven Miles, the Deputy Premier, is joy. That is really joy, because what it's done, I mean, at the end of the day, we've lost 400 school teachers from Queensland that teach in our schools. Our hospitals have gone on skeleton staff. And the same thing applies to Queensland. So, as you said earlier, it's all about common sense. We've been complaining and we've been lobbying really hard over recent times about this. And look, there's joy in Tweed at the moment. We're still waiting on the final details from Queensland. We believe that for Queenslanders to come over here to work, they've got to go back and get a single jab. That's fine. We can live with that. But it's about trying to get people back to work and get some normality. We saw those terrible scenes there recently where people are handing children across the border, across this line. Is this Australia, Chris? I don't think so. I mean,
No.
we're beyond this.
It is unfamiliar to us. It is just terrible. So some sense of normality from Monday. You're moving into school holidays as well. But you'd be hoping just to scrap that border altogether as soon as possible, wouldn't you?
Oh, look, absolutely, Chris. For all your viewers out there at the moment, it's across the street. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. And we've had no cases here, and the Southern Gold Coast has no crazies. And we're just trying to get people back. Most people, Chris, at the end of the day, just want to go to work, put food on the table and a roof over their heads, and the kids go to school. I mean, this is Australia. Most
people just want to look after their families and go to work, as you say. It's not that hard. Thanks for joining us, Geoff. I appreciate it.
No problems, Chris. Thank you.
Geoff Provest there, who's the New South Wales Nationals member for the Tweed area up there.